Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose, and it was Zelda's 35th anniversary over the weekend. This is one of the greatest franchises ever made that's really stood the test of time. I think even if you go back to most of the older games, they still are incredibly fun to this day, so it was nice seeing so many people celebrate Zelda's 35th anniversary yesterday. It's just a magical franchise, and I know many of you were hoping for a surprise Zelda announcement, and in a way, we did get a Zelda reveal, and this is pretty cool, so stay tuned until later in the video when we talk about that. Also, Xbox might have an event rather soon that could finally shed some light on that Bethesda acquisition. I know the whole game community is holding their breath as they wait for some direct answers, and it sounds like the wait is almost over. We have a lot of news to talk about today though, so let's get right into it. Over the weekend, a game got leaked online, and this is actually really interesting in how it came to be. The old Rare game, Dinosaur Planet, which eventually became Star Fox Adventures, is now available to play online. Yeah, you can play this right now, which is really cool to see. It doesn't run perfectly on an emulator, though you can play it on a flash cart where it runs much better. I'm not going to share any gameplay of this considering this is an official leak, but this leak is fascinating. Rare back in the 90s and early 2000s worked very closely with Nintendo, and in many ways, they can be remembered as the #1 developer for the Nintendo 64. Many people consider it the golden age of Rare games, as they were just pumping out great game after great game. They had GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Killer Instinct, Banjo-Kazooie, Conker, Jet Force Gemini, Diddy Kong Racing, Donkey Kong 64, and I mean, you get the point. They made some amazing games for the Nintendo 64, but they actually had one more game planned for the Nintendo 64 that never came out, and that was Dinosaur Planet. This was a very ambitious game with voice dialogue, overall good visuals for the time, and appeared to take some inspiration from games like Zelda Ocarina of Time. Ultimately though, Miyamoto over at Nintendo had an idea to turn Dinosaur Planet into a Star Fox game, and put it on the GameCube instead. So they went back to the drawing boards and ended up making Star Fox Adventures, which had very mixed reception on release. However, Dinosaur Planet still exists as a Nintendo 64 game, and you can now play it thanks to this new leak. You can even see the name of the original character that Fox replaces being Saber. So this build was made after the decision to make it a Star Fox game. The way this game was leaked though is that a private Sweden game collector purchased a copy of this build, and here it is in all of its glory. Again, if you want to play it, it's easily found now online. Also, here's a game that's coming back that fans are really going to like, Diablo 2 Resurrected. We have talked about this game on the channel in the past, and all the rumors were true after all. Vicarious Visions, the studio behind the Crash Insane trilogy, are working closely with Blizzard to remake Diablo 2, and that should bring a lot of joy to the Diablo community for a number of different reasons. I mean, Diablo 2 is often believed to be the best in the franchise, and is an all-time great RPG. And then the fact that you have an already proven studio that does a great job with remakes and Vicarious Visions, this is all around very exciting. When it was first being reported that Vicarious Visions was working with Blizzard and was becoming some kind of support studio, a lot of people were very upset or concerned, and understandably so. But now that it's official that they're working on Diablo 2, I think that will set a lot of people's minds at ease. This gets even better though, because anytime you think about Diablo, PC always comes to mind. It's a very PC-oriented franchise, but over the years, Diablo has gained quite a following on consoles as well, and Blizzard clearly realizes that as it was announced for the PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and even the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, that was surprising, and it will even support cross-progression. But from what I've seen from this game so far, they're treating Diablo 2 as a premier remake rather than just a simple HD remaster, and it will release sometime in 2021, barring any kind of delays. Next up, let's talk about the newly released Valheim that's taken the gaming world by surprise. Valheim released earlier this month and has already sold more than 3 million copies despite being an early access title, and the game community is absolutely loving this game. It still sits at a 96% recommended rating on Steam, which is crazy for a game that is this popular, let alone being an early access game. Well, check this out. Valheim continues to have rapid success to the point it has already broken the record for the most concurrent players for survival games on Steam with 502,000 players. The previous record was Terraria with 489,000 concurrent players, and that really is telling. Terraria is obviously a very popular game, and in less than 1 month, Valheim has broken that record. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this record climbs even higher than that. I mean, even if you look at other genres, this is very impressive. Valheim is currently the second most played game on Steam right now, behind only Counter-Strike Go, and as far as concurrent players, it ranks 5th of all time, being behind CSGO, Dota 2, PUBG, and then Cyberpunk 2077. I said this a week or so ago, but it seems like every year there's always 1 or 2 games that comes out of nowhere and just has a ton of success, and I think we're already seeing that with Valheim. This will be one of the most successful games this year when all said and done, and if you haven't played Valheim, you might want to check it out. Next up, let's talk about Zelda because there's a lot of things happening with Zelda right now. This is Zelda's 35th anniversary after all, and about a week ago there was some speculation that Grezzo is working on a new Zelda title. That's because they are hiring for a stylish medieval game, and well, they do work closely with Nintendo on Zelda projects. They of course did the Ocarina of Time remake and Majora's Mask for the 3DS, and then most recently, Link's Awakening for the Switch. They have done a phenomenal job with these Zelda remakes, so it makes sense that speculation would point towards another Zelda game. And that's the thing, it's now official that they are helping with Miitopia for the Switch, which is a little more interesting than what you may think, and I'll kind of explain why. So Miitopia was originally a 3DS game, and Grezzo is showing their remake expertise by turning this into a Nintendo Switch game, and it does look much better than the original. Now, what we know about Grezzo is that they usually do have multiple games in development, and because we can see what they're doing with Miitopia on the Switch, it makes me wonder if they could possibly do something similar with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I'm not saying that this will happen, but there still is that job listing for a stylish medieval game, and Miitopia appears not to be that game. So it just makes me curious if maybe they bring Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask from the 3DS to the Switch. You let me know what you think about all of that in the comments below, but based off their work on Miitopia that I've seen so far, I think that they could do them and make them look really nice on the Switch. Now, speaking of Zelda remakes, you definitely need to check this out. This started to make the rounds over the weekend because a community-driven Zelda reverse engineering team has decompiled 65% of Zelda Ocarina of Time to parsable C code. What this means is that once completed, Zelda Ocarina of Time will run natively on PC in a similar fashion to how Mario 64 was made available to PC fans last year. This is not emulation, but rather this will run natively on your PC. Now, one thing that this does is allow you to mod a game, and as we've seen from the modding community, you can do some really cool things with this. We saw the modding community do some really cool things with Mario 64 to make it look better than what it ever has on PC. And that's how I was introduced to this Zelda project, which is actually pretty insane. So somebody has actually been working on a Zelda Ocarina of Time Unreal Engine 4 remake, and it looks stunning. When I first saw this, I could not believe how good this game looks with Unreal Engine 4. I'm not going to post the video because I do encourage you to watch the source video, which I will link below. But I've been seeing a lot of complaints over the last week in how Skyward Sword HD isn't some huge improvement on the Switch, and there's that whole pricing controversy as well, and okay, I think it will still sell incredibly well, but for those looking for a big improvement, you can see that with this Ocarina of Time remake made with Unreal Engine 4. It looks absolutely insane, and if you played the original, this is probably a dream come true for a lot of you. Honestly, I wish Nintendo would do a remake like this, and even though the two projects are unrelated, stuff like this might be a lot easier for the modding community if the Zelda reverse engineering team reaches 100% completion. That native port would be a fantastic way of playing Ocarina of Time and maybe get some improved visuals that fans have been asking for. We'll see what happens with all that, but this is really cool stuff, and because it was Zelda's 35th anniversary yesterday, I wanted to talk about it. And with that said, since it was Zelda's 35th anniversary, let me know what your favorite Zelda is in the comments below. Mine is personally Zelda Minish Cap, but I want to know your favorite as well. Up next, Xbox might be holding a new event as early as next month. This is coming from the well-respected VentureBeat journalist Jeff Grubb, who claims that Xbox plans some kind of an event once the Bethesda acquisition is cleared. Now, from my understanding, the acquisition should be completed in early March, so this event, if true, would take place sometime after that. And this is something the entire game community is going to want to pay attention to. To this point, Microsoft has not legally been allowed to talk publicly about what plans they have for Bethesda with this acquisition. Everybody wants to know the million-dollar question: will Bethesda games be exclusive to Xbox going forward, and what does Xbox plan to do with them? This is a huge publisher with a lot of major IP. I mean, they have Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, Doom, Prey, the upcoming Starfield, and the list goes on and on. This was a huge blockbuster acquisition, and it has potential of reshaping the game industry as we know it. In fact, Google Stadia reportedly gave up on their own first-party studios because of this acquisition. So this is where we will likely finally get our answers on what's happening. Now, about this event though, Jeff Grubb does say that he does not know if it will be done in a Nintendo Direct type of way, and my gut feeling is no, it will not. Another well-respected Xbox insider by the name of Clobril pointed out that it could be an interview type of event, and I tend to agree with that. There are a lot of questions when it comes to this acquisition, and I think that would be the best possible way of resolving all of these questions. They can show some big Bethesda games near E3, but next month they could simply have Phil Spencer and Todd Howard sit down with somebody asking them questions, and just kind of answer what we want to know. I think right away we should at the very least expect Bethesda games to be an Xbox Game Pass day one from this point forward, outside of a few timed exclusives that PlayStation already signed. As for exclusives, I don't know what Xbox will do, and I think most people are just kind of guessing by this point. I think it would make the most sense from a business perspective to make Bethesda games exclusive, just because it makes Xbox consoles and Xbox Game Pass more enticing that way. That's Xbox's ultimate goal in bringing fans over to Xbox Game Pass, and the best way to do that is offer high-profile exclusives to make your service more enticing. I think that would be the big picture here. On the other side, I know there is that argument that multi-platform would reach more customers, and technically that's true, and that's something that they did with Minecraft. It still would kind of surprise me if they went in that direction though. But yeah, because this is Microsoft, it's always hard to tell what they'll do. They just have this way of surprising you. Maybe they're exclusive, which would be my personal guess. Maybe they do timed exclusives, or maybe they do multi-platform. All I know is it looks like our questions will finally be answered soon enough. What do you think though? Do you think Bethesda games will be exclusive to Xbox? And what questions do you want them to answer during this event? Let me know in the comments below. On to the topic of the day. It almost seems like every single month, a new Nintendo Switch Pro rumor pops up. This has been going on for more than a year now, and there's a lot of rumors floating around that 2021 is the year that we will get an official reveal of this quote-unquote Switch Pro. So I wanted to ask you, the community, do you believe a Switch Pro will be revealed in 2021? And you all pretty confidently said, no, it will not. 61% of you voted for no. I think for me, I do believe Nintendo is working on something, and not just because of all the rumors and speculation. Just based off their past history, especially with their handhelds, Nintendo has typically made different editions of their consoles to fit more playstyles. You had the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Then you had the Game Boy Advance, the SP, and the Micro. Same thing with the Nintendo DS and 3DS. Both of those had several models, and so far Nintendo has done that with the Switch. You have the Switch Lite, and then you have the base model, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do something like they did with the new 3DS and make a premium model. The current rumor is a device that displays 4K resolution when docked, and then has an upgraded display in handheld mode. That would be cool in my opinion, but as to revealing it this year, I would like to think that they will, but your guess is as good as mine. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.